Out the schools that are represented in the final. We see some wrestlers from the quote-unquote superpowers, but it's more spread out this year.
Matt, there were 25 schools represented this morning. That's a tremendous amount to be represented in the morning round. No one had more than 4, or a few schools had 3. No one has dominated Region 3 this year.
The quarterfinals were held last evening, the semifinals this morning, so in less than 24 hours, these wrestlers have gone through an awful emotional experience, a physical challenge. What has to happen? What do they have to do to get through the next 6 minutes?
Now there's the mental preparation, not just the athletic ability that they obviously have to be at this point. It's being ready when they take the mat. It's breaking a sweat. It's having that perspiration kind of be felt throughout the body so that they don't make the mistake in the first 30 seconds when they hit their feet on the mat. That's going to be the key for our finals.
All right, the wrestlers are being introduced to the crowd at hand here at Union High School. The Region 3 championships are just moments away. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back with the 103-pound bout right after this. All right, let's move to 112 pounds. Pat Bartels will take on Brian Klein of Summit. Bartels from Scotch Plains. And last year, he finished 3rd at Region 3 at 103 pounds. And again, we have the top 2 seeded wrestlers advancing to the final. Bartels number 1, Klein number 2, a pair of juniors. Home. Klein, a junior, 112-pounder at 24-3 this year. Wrestling for John Davies, Pat Bartels, also 22-3. And Len Zanowitz, the man in the middle, and Jim Sockin to the right of the screen, the head coach and assistant coach at Scotch Plains, respectively. And there's John Davies, hand to his chin, the head coach at Summit. A lot of years on the one side and youngster on the other.
Again, a rematch of the county finals between these 2 young men. Both have been wrestling very fine tournaments here and for the full year. Klein very, very physical. Pat Bartels very smooth. Pat coming in with 2 falls, one in 155 and one in 529 to the finals. Klein with a 17-8 and a 5-3 victory. Bartels in tight on that single leg. Klein, nice job of fighting it. Bartels swings the opposite way. Crowding, gets his 2, takes the lead.
Klein won that Union County Championship. Also took the District 10 title this year. Klein winner in District 12. Also a District 12 winner back in 1990.
Klein stands, gets up somewhat easily. Bartels hangs on that leg. Needs to move his opponent, get him down to the mat. One for the neutral. Still 2-1 Bartels with 30 seconds, first period. Both wrestlers tied up. A little fearful of making a shot here with 10 seconds to go in this first period.
If we haven't mentioned it already, Roy Dragon and Gary Kessel working this match, alternating with Vin Russo and Dan Mahoney, who worked the first one. So a 2-1 advantage for Pat Bartels as we go into the second period. Klein led the Summit Hilltoppers in receptions this year on the football field, and also as an outfielder on the baseball team. Meanwhile, Bartels during the fall kept in shape by running cross country.
Bartels, nice switch. Up for one, almost behind his opponent for the two, but it becomes a neutral instead.
And it's 3-1 in favor of the Scotch Plains wrestler. Klein backing up. Called for stalling by Roy Dragon.
Bartels has definitely been the aggressor through the first two periods. Klein breaking again. He makes the shot. Bartels counters nicely. Bartels locked on the leg. Klein again gets that leg back. Off balance at this point. Bartels doesn't take advantage of that odd position that Klein was in.
Jerry, when there is such familiarity with the opponent, when you've wrestled a number of times, either in a county situation or in the duels or whatever it might be, how does that change things from knowing that this is the first time, say, you're seeing a guy?
What we're seeing is the amount of wrestling on their feet, Matt. In that first bout between Tracy and Saxon, what we saw was a great deal of mat wrestling. They went after each other on the feet. They weren't sure what each was going to do. For a takedown, each had one in that bout, and we saw a lot of the switches and the sits and the riding on the bottom. Not as tentative as we see the two wrestlers right now on their feet, somewhat fearful of making that shot.
10 seconds remaining in the second period. Bartels with the 3-1 advantage over Brian Klein of Summit. The team honors, per se, have ended. They ended last week with the districts. But there is still that reputation that each wrestler brings to the mat beyond just his individual talents.
There was no question. At the beginning of the round this morning, the people had their little score sheets out, and it was, gee, Milburn has 4 people through into today. Hanover Park has 3. Gee, Parsippany still has 3. There was a pecking order as to the number of representatives from each of the schools that were here today.
John Davies looking on. He is the son of Jack Davies, the great football coach at Butler and at Montclair, who retired at the end of last season, actually 2 seasons ago.
He was in attendance last night, cheering his son's team on. Had a nice conversation with Jack.
John, a great football player in his own right at Butler and then down in Delaware.
Neutral by Klein again. That escape gets us to a 3-2 score. Klein becoming a little more aggressive now, knowing that he has to get the takedown, and we're going to have the warning against Pat Bartels. The warnings are now even. 3-2. A warning each wrestler for backing on his feet.
And the next warning will result in a penalty point. .1:15 to go in the third and final period. A 3-2 advantage for Bartels.
Well, almost had that leg hook.
I was going to say Klein did a good job breaking free.
Second or third time the Klein has gone flat, but the other 2 times it's been off the mat. This time Klein went flat on the mat. Bartels unable to take advantage of it. Klein is the one that comes up with Bartels' leg. He switches to the double. He moves behind, but it's outside of the circle. Good call by the official. That full move occurred outside of the circle.
And so no points awarded. It stays 3-2. Brian Klein, that young man, down by a point as we resume action. 45 seconds left in the third and final period.
Tom Warnke from New Providence with a hard-fought 3-1 victory over Pat Ramirez of Livingston for the third place here at 112 pounds.
Half a minute to go in the third period.
Klein has to come right back at Bartels. He dives on the feet. He's flat. Bartels will hang on to the ankles on the other side, and Klein tries to come out the back, but again, the move is outside of the circle.
15 seconds remaining. Pat Bartels looking to take some time. Signaled he wanted to take a little bit of time, but I guess he just had a question to ask. Wanted to make sure maybe where the stalling warnings are at.
Klein in very deep again. Bartels trying to fight it. Locks over top with just 5 seconds to go. He needs to try and get the head out. Klein is going to get the head out. He gets the 2 points on the buzzer.
With 1 second remaining, he pops his head free and will go down as the 112-pound champion for 1992. And like two gladiators, Klein goes right up to Bartels, gives him a big hug. Of course, he's thrilled, but I think he recognizes that we might meet again somewhere. And as juniors, we're certainly going to meet again next year.
Klein in nice and deep. Bartels did all he could to try and hang on to that head and keep it buried in his side and under his armpit. But it was Klein with the clock running down with a 5, 4, 3, 2, and literally on the buzzers, we looked at the clock. The head pops out here. There's the buzzer. There are the 2 points awarded. An outstanding match between two fine wrestlers.
The start of the third period, Jerry, you could see a noticeable increase in the aggressiveness of Brian Klein.
He's very, very physical as a wrestler. Very hard. Pat Bartels more smooth on the mat. Klein a little more aggressive at the end, and it resulted in his championship.
And that gives us time now to speak with Brian Klein, the Summit winner at 112 pounds. And first off, Brian, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We commented during the course of the match that you came out in the third period. You seemed much more aggressive at the start, and that kind of turned the tide.
Yeah. I knew what I had to do, and came in the underdog, so I knew what I had to do.
Did you sense that you had to pick up your aggression?
Yes, because I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't have enough time, and I would lose the match.
You guys have banged heads before. How does it feel to come out on top?
Feels very good.
All right, what are you thinking about as you prepare to move on in the States?
Hope to keep continuing what I'm doing and working harder.
All right, hard work will hopefully benefit you. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.